So I've been to quite a few summer camps over the years. Good grief. Over the years? Am I trying to make myself sound older? Ay ay ay. So I've been to quite a few summer camps in the past, and a good number of them were pretty, interesting, I guess. And by that I mean pretty crazy and, I guess, entertaining stuff happened. So in this video I'm going to be talking about the experience I had at a particular camp that ended with a bang. Okay, so a few years ago, my brother Steven and I found this summer culinary class that was in a kitchenware store. So we gave it some thought, and we decided to sign up for it, thinking that it would be a nice little learning experience. Yeah, so naive. Now, one thing we didn't really take into account when we asked our parents to sign us up for this class is that it was forever and a freaking mile to this kitchenware store. Like, it took us 30 to 45 minutes to get there. And the class was only 2 hours anyway, so we would drive for like 45 minutes to get there, and then we would do the class, and then it would take another 45 minutes to get back to our place. So on the first day of class, we were actually late, so we were running around looking for this kitchenware place, which for the sake of this video I will call, Flavortown. Now another thing was that Flavortown was in a massive shopping center, which didn't help at all. Finally we found Flavortown and walked inside. But for like a whole minute, we couldn't find the area where they held the class. So we had to ask one of the employees. And he was like, "Oh yeah, it's just back there." And he pointed to the back where there was a huge entrance with the words culinary classes above it. So I don't really know how we missed that, but whatever. So we walked into the room, and of course the class had already started because, we were late. And there were 6 kids already there, all with aprons on, who were sitting down and listening to the lead instructor, who for the sake of this video, I'll call Mrs. Chef. Another instructor gave us each an apron to put on, which for me was kinda difficult because I had never tied an apron before. I tried to tie it behind my back, but after a while it was just taking too long, so I just tied it in the front. So for the first 5 to 10 minutes, we listened to Mrs. Chef basically explain kitchen etiquette. So like, don't touch the pan when it's hot, don't run around with a knife, don't do stupid stuff, that sort of thing. They said that there would be a competition at the end of the week, so they assigned us into 2 teams. So my team was Steven, me, another kid who I'll call, James, who was there for the first time and I think was also a newbie. And the last kid was a culinary wizard and apparently a regular customer for these classes, who I'll call Gordon Ramsay, because compared to us, he was like Gordon Ramsay. And he kind of acted like the boss, like Gordon Ramsay.
Come on, please, the duck! Where's the lamb sauce? Where's the lamb sauce?
So the first day, I think we made chicken with some sort of spice rub on it. And along with that, we made something, I think they were called whoopie pies? Yep, that's it. This class wasn't like a make a whole meal kind of thing, so it was just the dishes that stood out. And besides, I don't know how you could possibly teach a group of kids how to make a whole meal with meat and sides in 2 hours. Like, that's just impossible. So the next few days of this class were fairly uneventful. I think we used chicken in some way for 3 out of the 4 days, and the only recipe that didn't need chicken was the shrimp taco recipe, which I wasn't really a huge fan of because I'm not a seafood person. And then, just like that, Friday rolled around. The last day of the class and the day of the competition. So basically how this competition worked was we had an hour and 45 minutes to make a recipe that we made earlier in the week. Each team got a different recipe to make, and the instructors chose which recipes we would make by writing the corresponding recipe day number on a small piece of paper. So for example, we made chicken on the first day, so the note for that recipe would have a 1 on it. The second day would have a 2, and so on and so forth. They mixed all these notes into a bowl, and they had each team choose one without looking into the bowl. So I think it was James who picked the note for us, and we got the third recipe, which was shrimp tacos. The other team picked the recipe and they got the first one, which was the chicken with whoopie pies. After we finished making the recipe, the instructors would taste the food and determine the winner, who didn't really win anything other than bragging rights. Now all this seems pretty simple, right? Just make a recipe you've done before in a similar amount of time using the same ingredients. Wrong! We had to use a mystery ingredient in the recipe as well, which was lemon. Which, I mean, whoa, caught off guard, but it's not like it's chopped from Food Network, where you have to use hot sauce jelly beans? How the heck do you make something with hot sauce jelly beans? How are those even a thing? Who put hot sauce on their food and just thought, man, wouldn't it be cool to have this in jelly bean form? Like freaking no one. Anderson, you're getting distracted. Sorry. Anyways, we decided to split up the recipe into parts so that we could each do our own task. My job was to make the slaw for the tacos, and try to incorporate lemon into it. I either put lemon juice or lemon rind into the slaw, but whichever one I chose, I'm pretty sure it came out alright, and it pretty much went according to plan. Boo! This is boring. According to plan? Where's the entertainment there? Would you guys cool it for a second? I'm getting to the good part. So while I was making the slaw, James and Gordon Ramsay were basically finished with their jobs when they saw the tortillas just innocently sitting there at their workstation when James said, "Shouldn't we heat those up somehow?" And Gordon Ramsay was like, "Yeah, we should." Sounds perfectly normal, right? But then instead of asking the instructors how they should heat up the tortillas like normal people, they put the tortillas in a plastic container and put it in the oven. I bet they thought they were pretty slick when they did that too. Ha! We didn't even need to ask Mrs. Chef about that one, because we're professional chefs. So then like 5 minutes after they did that, everyone started to smell something kind of smoky. And one of the instructors opened the oven and saw this plastic container, which by that time was starting to melt. He took it out and was like, "What is this? What in the heck is this? Who put this in here? Who did it? I want answers now." And then after like a minute, James and Gordon Ramsay went up to the instructor all sheepish and were like, "Well, Mr. Instructor, we might have..." "Were you the ones? Did you do this?" "Well, we maybe, kind of, sort of, maybe, might have, probably..." "Did you do this? Answer me." "Yes." Yeah, then he kind of lost it and he was like, "You guys should be ashamed of yourselves. It's our job to make sure this equipment doesn't get damaged. Our boss is going to be furious. Ah!" Then he stormed off and left for 15 minutes. And after that, Mrs. Chef just looked at James and Gordon Ramsay like, "Well, what were you guys expecting to happen? You thought you were just gonna get off scot-free, didn't you?" And then they just slowly walked back to their workstations and kind of just worriedly sat there. Later on, the instructor who left came back, and James and Gordon Ramsay rushed over to him, and they were like, "Oh, we're so sorry, man, sorry, our bad, sorry." And after a while, he was just like, all right, cool, just give me some space already, jeez." So I guess he was okay. After that, we finished all our tasks, got the food on the plate, and the clock ran out. Now it was time for the tasting. The instructors tried our opponent's dish first. Then they walked over to our dish and tried ours. They actually liked it. I was honestly shocked. So then the instructors went off to the other side of the room to talk and determine the winner. And while they were doing that, we were kind of just sitting there waiting, and then out of nowhere, James started getting really mad, and then he just burst out and was like, "We are going to lose. We are seriously going to lose because of that dumb decision to put those stupid tortillas in the oven. You're such an idiot, Gordon Ramsay. That was your idea." Then Gordon Ramsay got all mad and was like, "My idea? Pah! The only person stupid enough to make that decision would be you, James." "Oh yeah, Einstein? Well, if you're some expert chef, then why didn't you stop me when I put the tortillas in the oven? You saw me do that. If you're so great, then why didn't you stop me?" And then the other team got involved, and one of the girls said something. I think her name was Lily or Rose or something along those lines. But then she got involved and she was like, "Would you guys cool it already? They haven't even decided a winner yet." And then Gordon Ramsay, I'll never forget his reply. He just looked at her and was like, "This doesn't concern you, Lily." And the crazy part is she actually stayed quiet after that. Poor Lily. And finally the instructors heard James and Gordon Ramsay arguing, so they came over and broke it up. And James and Gordon Ramsay just sat there really awkwardly. And then a few minutes later, the instructors finished their discussion and decided on the winner. Alright guys, now look. I'll be honest, this is probably one of the closest contests we've ever had here. But after a long discussion, we've decided that the dish we liked the most was the shrimp tacos. We actually won. I still don't know how they thought we made the better dish. Really? We were a freaking mess. We put a plastic container in the oven. We could barely work as a team. How did we win? That's crazy. After they announced the winner, there really wasn't any reaction. I didn't know what to say. The other team didn't know what to say. And James and Gordon Ramsay didn't want to see anything. It was just quiet. After the instructor dismissed us, I remember Gordon Ramsay just went storming out of the classroom, followed by James just a few seconds after. They were furious. I kind of felt like apologizing to Lily after what had just transpired, but I figured she probably didn't want to talk about it. Honestly, I didn't really feel like we deserved to win after James and Gordon Ramsay went off like that. That's not showing very good teamwork or ability to take responsibility for mistakes. Steven and I actually went back to that same culinary class the summer after that, but that's a story for another time. Guess you'll just have to subscribe and see what happens.